Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. Before we read Srimad Bhagavatam, let's invoke the blessing of the Lord. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namah Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhayev cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarvakaran Karanam. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So dear devotees, we have been reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1. We started with the introduction and the life and precepts of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is what have been reading. So let's continue. When the Lord was invoking his Sudarshan Chakra and Srila Nityanand Prabhu was imploring him to forgive the two brothers, the both brothers fell down at the lotus feet of the Lord, begged his pardon for their gross behavior. The Lord was also asked by Nityanand Prabhu to accept these repenting souls, and Lord agreed to accept them on one condition, that they henceforth completely give up all their sinful activities and habits of debauchery. Both brothers agreed and promised to give up all their sinful habits, and the kind Lord accepted them and did not again refer to their past misdeeds. This is the specific kindness of Lord Chaitanya. In this age, no one can say that he is free from sin. It is impossible for anyone to say this. But Lord Chaitanya accepts all kinds of sinful persons on the one condition that they promise not to indulge in sinful habits after being spiritually initiated by bona fide spiritual master. There are a number of instructive points to be observed in this incident of the two brothers. In this Kali Yuga, practically all people are of quality of Jagai and Madhai. If they want to be relieved from the reaction of their misdeeds, they must take shelter of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And after spiritual initiation, thus refrain from those things which are prohibited in the Shastras. The prohibitory rules are dealt with within the Lord's teachings to Srila Rupa Goswami. During his householder life, the Lord did not display many of the miracles which are generally expected from such personalities. But he did once perform a wonderful miracle in the house of Srinivas Thakur while Sankirtana was in full swing. He asked the devotees what they wanted to eat, and when he was informed that they wanted to eat mangoes, he asked for a seed of a mango, although this fruit was out of season. When seed was brought to him, he sowed it in the yard of Srinivasa, and at once creeper began to grow out of the seed. Within no time, this creeper became full-grown mango tree, heavy with more ripened fruits than devotees could eat. The tree remained in Srinivasa's yard, and from then on, the devotees used to take as many mangoes from the tree as they wanted. The Lord had a very high estimation of the affection of the damsels of Rajabhumi, Vrindavan, for Krishna, and in appreciation of their unalloyed service to the Lord. Once Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chanted the holy names of the gopis, cowherd girls, instead of the names of the Lord. At this time, some of his students, who were also disciples, came to see him. And when they saw that Lord was chanting the name of the gopis, they were astonished. Out of sheer foolishness, they asked the Lord why he was chanting the name of the gopis and advised him to chant the name of Krishna. The Lord, who was in ecstasy, was thus disturbed by these foolish students. He chastised them and chased them away. The students were almost same age as the Lord, and thus they wrongly thought of the Lord as one of their peers. They held a meeting and resolved that they would attack the Lord if he dared to punish them again in such a manner. This incident provoked some malicious talks about the Lord on the part of general public. When the Lord became aware of this, he began to consider various types of men found in society. He noted that especially the students, professors, fruitative workers, yogis, non devotees, and different types of atheists were all opposed to the devotional service of the Lord. My mission is to deliver all fallen souls of this age, he thought, but if they commit offenses against me, thinking me to be an ordinary man, they will not benefit. If they are to begin their life of spiritual realization, they must some way or another offer obeisances to me. Thus, the Lord decided to accept the renounced order of life, sannyasa, because people in general were inclined to offer respect to a sannyasi. 500 years ago, the condition of society was not as degraded as it is today. At that time, people would show respect to a sannyasi, and then sannyasi was rigid in following the rules and regulation of the renounced order of life. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not very much in favor of renounced order of life in this age of Kali, but that was the only reason that very few sannyasis in this age are able to observe rules and regulation of sannyasa life. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu decided to accept the order and become an ideal sannyasi so that the general populace would show him respect. One is duty bound to show respect to sannyasi, for a sannyasi is considered to be master of all varnas and ashramas. While he was contemplating accepting the sannyasa order, it is so happened that Keshav Bharti, a sannyasi of the Mayavadi school and resident of Katwa in Bengal, visited Navadip and was invited to dine with the Lord. When Keshav Bharti came to his house, the Lord asked him to award him the sannyasa order of life. This was the matter of formality. The sannyasa order is to be accepted from another sannyasi. Although the Lord was independent in all respects, still to keep up formalities of the Shastras, he accepted sannyasa order from Keshav Bharati. Although Keshav Bharati was not in Vaishnava Sampradaya school. After consulting with Keshav Bharati, the Lord left Navadipa for Katwa to formally accept the sannyas order of life. He was accompanied by Srila Nityananda Prabhu, Chandrasekhara Acharya, and Mukunda Datta. These three assisted him in the details of the ceremony. The incidents of Lord's accepting sannyas order is very elaborately described in Chaitanya Bhagavata by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. Thus, at the end of his 24th year, Lord accepted the sannyasa order of life in the month of Magha. After accepting this order, he became full-fledged preacher of Bhagavata Dharma. Although he was doing the same preaching work in his householder life, when he experienced some obstacle to his preaching, he sacrificed even the comfort of his home life for the sake of the fallen souls. In his householder life, his life assistants were Srila Advaita Prabhu and Srila Srivas Thakur. But after he accepted the sannyas order, his chief assistants became Srila Nityanand Prabhu, who was deputed to preach specifically in Bengal, and six Goswamis, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Jiva Goswami, Gopal Bhatt Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami. Raghunath Bhatt Goswami, headed by Shila, Rupa, and Sanatana, who were deputed to go to Vrindavana and excavate present places of pilgrimage. The present city of Vrindavana and importance of Rajabhumi were thus disclosed by the will of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Lord, after accepting sannyasa order, at once wanted to start for Vrindavana. For 3 continuous days, he travelled in Radhadesh, places where Ganges does not flow. He was in full ecstasy over the idea of going to Vrindavan. However, Srila Nityananda diverted his path and brought him instead to the house of Advaita Prabhu in Shantipura. The Lord stayed at Sri Advaita Prabhu's house for few days, and knowing well that the Lord was leaving his hearth and home for good, Sri Advaita Prabhu sent his man to Navadip to bring Mother Sachi to have a last meeting with her son. Some unscrupulous people say that Lord Chaitanya met his wife, was also after taking sannyas, and offered her his wooden slipper for worship. But authentic sources give no information about such a meeting. His mother met him at the house of Advaita Prabhu, and when she saw her son in sannyasa dress, she lamented. By way of compromise, she requested her son to make his headquarters in Puri so that she would easily able to get information about him. The Lord granted his last desire of his beloved mother. After this incident, the Lord started for Puri, leaving all residents of Navadipa in an ocean of lamentation over his separation. The Lord visited many important places on the way to Puri. He visited temple of Gopinathji, who had stolen condensed milk for his devotee Srila Madhavendra Puri. Since the deity Gopinathji is well known as Shir Khir Chora Gopinath, the Lord relished this story with great pleasure. The propensity of stealing is there even in the absolute consciousness. But because this propensity is exhibited by the absolute, it loses its perverted nature and thus becomes worshipable even by the Lord Chaitanya on the basis of absolute consideration that Lord and his stealing propensity are one and identical. This interesting story of Gopinathji is vividly explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. After visiting temple of Hirchora Gopinath of Remuna at Balasore in Odisha, the Lord proceeded towards Puri and on the way visited temple of Sakshi Gopal, who appeared as witness in the matter of two Brahmana devotees' family quarrel. The Lord heard the story of Sakshi Gopala with great pleasure because he wanted to impress upon the atheist about worshipable deities in the temple approved by great acharyas are not idols, as alleged by man with poor fund of knowledge. The deity in the temple is the arch incarnation of personality of Godhead, and thus deity is identical with the Lord in all respects. He responds to the proportion of the devotee's affection for him. In story of Sakshi Gopal, in which there was a family misunderstanding by two devotees of the Lord, in order to mitigate the turmoil as well as to show specific favor to his servitors, travelled from Vrindavan to Vidyanagara, a village in Odisha, in form of his arch incarnation. From there, the deity was brought to Katak, and thus temple of Sakshi Gopal is even today visited by thousands of pilgrims on the way to Jagannath Puri. The Lord stayed overnight there and began to proceed towards Puri. On the way, his sannyasa road was broken by Nityanand Prabhu. The Lord became apparently angry with him about this and went alone to Puri, leaving his companions behind. So we'll stop here. Tomorrow we'll read Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes at Puri. श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु की जय। श्री श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। शिला प्रभुपाद की जय। शिला व्यासदेव की जय। So now we will read Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrita. So we have been reading from volume 6, Preaching to America, part 1. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Holiness Satsvarup Das Goswami Maharaj ki jai. So we were in 1975, July 15, 1975. Srila Prabhupada had a direct flight from Philadelphia to San Francisco. He and Upendra sat in first class section, while Brahmananda Swami, Rishikesha, and Pradyumna traveled economy class. Vishakha Devi Dasi had also come to photograph Srila Prabhupada. After the plane had reached cruising altitude, a uniformed gentleman emerged from the cabin. Immediately he caught sight of Srila Prabhupada sitting by the window and walked over. When he leaned over and asked Prabhupada how he was, Prabhupada saw that man wanted to talk. So he asked Upendra to get up and give the gentleman his seat. You are the captain? Prabhupada surmised. No, the man replied. I am a flight supervisor, come to overlook the pilot and the crew. Would it be all right if I asked you a philosophical question? Prabhupada nodded, apparently pleased. Is everything created by God? Srila Prabhupada said yes, quoted the Vedanta Sutra. Janmadi yasya yataha. Everything in existence, Prabhupada said, has its origin in God. Then what is evil? The flight supervisor asked. Is evil also God's creation? For God, there is not good or evil, Prabhupada explained. Everything is good. Goodness is God's front edge, and evil is God's back portion. Taking this example, chest or back of the body are equal. It is not that when there is some pain in the backside, I don't care for it. I simply take care of it when there is a pain in the chest. No, although it is backside, it is as important as front side. So evil and good are also of the same importance. No, for God there is nothing evil. Just like sun, there is no darkness. But for us, there is a light and darkness. If you keep your back to the sun, you will find darkness. If you face the sun, then there is no darkness. What an example Prabhupada has given. Such a simple example, so impactful. If you keep your back to the sun, you will find darkness. If you face the sun, then there is no darkness. We create darkness as soon as we change our position. If instead of remaining in front of God, I keep God on the back, then there is a darkness. Otherwise, there is no question of darkness. But in the sun, as it is, there is no such darkness. Therefore, God is all good. But for us, when we forget God, there is evil. And when we are in God consciousness, always, then everything is good. That's all right. Is that all right? The man seemed to understand and respectfully accepted the answer. He was about to ask another question when a well dressed but somewhat drunken passenger came up to them and spoke. Srila Prabhupada looked up at the looked up at the man and asked, are you afraid of death? The intoxicated man stammered, sobered, and walked away. The flight supervisor inquired again, taking his meeting with Srila Prabhupada as a rare opportunity. Can you tell me how one can become peaceful? He asked. Srila Prabhupada began quoting Bhagavad Gita, Bhoktaram Yagna Tapasam, and signaling Vishaka asked for a copy of Gita. The devotees quickly consulted, but no one had a Bhagavad Gita. When Prabhupada heard this, he became angry. Although containing his feelings in the presence of his guest, he then explained to man that one had to have knowledge of God as the supreme controller, the supreme enjoyer, and the best friend of everyone. Only then one could have peace. Out of foolishness, Prabhupada said, we are claiming the land is our property. Therefore, there is no peace. But actually, God is the proprietor. Both Srila Prabhupada and flight supervisor enjoyed their talk. And as flight supervisor excused himself, he heartedly shook Prabhupada's hand. Prabhupada called for Pradyumna, his eyes glowing in transcendental anger. He reprimanded Upendra and Pradyumna for not having a copy of Bhagavad Gita. They should have one with them at all times. Pradyumna offered that although he did not have Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is, he just happened to be carrying an edition by another author. This infuriated Prabhupada even more. He then ordered Upendra never to travel again without carrying three books, Bhagavad Gita as it is, and first volume of Chaitanya Charitamrita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Berkeley, July 15, 1975. Within less than 2 weeks, Prabhupada had traveled from West Coast to East Coast and back. This was his first visit to ISKCON Berkeley, recently acquired headquarters, a large church complex, and as usual, hundreds of devotees from many Western centers had converged to meet him. His arrival address specifically dealt with the position of Guru, only unto one with unflinching faith in Krishna and Guru. He explained, is the essence of Vedic wisdom revealed? Outsiders may think that Guru is very puffed up, said Prabhupada, and he is sitting and taking respect from the disciple. But the fact is that they are to be taught like that, how to offer respect to the spiritual master. Srila Prabhupada repeatedly encountered this misunderstanding. A year ago in Paris, he had been heckled by radical students who envied his sitting on a on an elevated seat. And in America, the reporters often portrayed him as enjoying material comforts provided by his disciples. But Prabhupada maintained that despite a plethora of charlatans bringing disrepute to the word guru, anyone sincerely desiring to learn transcendental science had to go to a bona fide guru, the representative of God. A guru's business, said Srila Prabhupada, is to protect the subordinate disciples from fall down. Just like I'm traveling all over the world twice, thrice in a year, my duty is to see that my disciples who have been accepted me as guru may not fall down. That is my anxiety. Now, how can one become guru and representative of Krishna? Everyone will say, I am representative of Krishna, I am guru. No, the real thing is enunciated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who says, Amara Agya Guru hai, Tara ye desha. You just become guru on my order. So, guru means he who's carrying out the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, not self made guru. Srila Prabhupada said that sometimes people gave him much credit for having done a wonderful thing for the whole world. But he confessed, I do not know that I am a wonderful man. But I know one thing that I am speaking what Krishna has spoken. That's all. I am not making any addition or alteration. I'm presenting Bhagavad Gita as it is. This credit I can take. Prabhupada continued to stress that the Guru must repeat the message of Krishna. If so called Guru wanted to be a cheater, and that was a different thing, there would always be cheaters and people who wanted to be cheated. Usually, such gurus cheated by accepting disciples without ordering them to stop sinful acts. If I say that you can do all nonsense, Prabhupada said, simply take this mantra and give me $125. They will like. So I would have collected millions of dollars if I would have cheated like that. But I do not want that. I want one student who follows my instruction. I do not want millions. Ekas Chandra Tamo Hantina Cha Taraha Sahasrasa. If there is a one moon in the sky, that is sufficient for illumination. There is no need of millions of stars. My position is that I want to see at least one disciple has become one pure devotee. Of course, I have got many sincere and pure devotees. That is my good luck. But I would have been satisfied if I could find out only one. There is no need of millions of stars. Due to zoning restrictions, devotees were not allowed to use Berkeley Temple as their residence. But since no suitable rooms were immediately available in neighborhood, the devotees decided to accommodate Srila Prabhupada and his personal staff in the temple for few days of his visit, hoping the authorities would not find out. But on the first night at 2 a.m., the police came by to check. Srila Prabhupada was already up, working at his Bhagavatam translation. When police knocked loudly on the outside door near his room, young Mike, who was to receive initiation in a few days, had been posted as guard. He opened the door and three flashlights shone on his face. The officers entered and showed their credential. "You are not supposed to be sleeping in here," one of them said roughly. "I was not," said Mike. "Come on, we saw you in your sleeping bag." "No," Mike protested. "I was just lying there because I am guarding my spiritual master." Srila Prabhupada could easily hear disturbance just outside his room. Other devotees who were spending the night in the building with Prabhupada came out of their rooms and tried reasoning with the officers about special occasion of spiritual master's visit. One of the policemen began roaming around, checking in the corners with flashlight, opening doors. Now all the devotees in the building, about half a dozen, were standing with policemen in the hall outside Prabhupada's room. "Where is the old man?" one of the policemen asked. Bahulswa, the temple president, requested them not to disturb Srila Prabhupada, but policemen made no attempt at politeness. They were in fact overtly nasty. One policeman banged on the window to Prabhupada's room. "Don't disturb him, Bahulswa requested. "He is a very elderly man. He is not sleeping. These are the hours in which he rides, and all these men are his personal entourage. They are staying here to help him. We are not violating the rules." Suddenly, one of the policemen opened Prabhupada's door and shone his light in on Prabhupada's face. All three policemen peered in while Srila Prabhupada looked up at them, concerned yet detached. The policeman shone his flashlight into the corners of Prabhupada's simple, dimly lit room. No one said anything, and after 10 seconds, they shut the door. The police officers and devotees continuing arguing. The devotees contending that they were not using the building as a residence. The police citing infractions and taking down notes, warning that they would be back. They finally left. The incident had constituted about an half an hour interruption of Prabhupada's work. But as the building became quiet again, Prabhupada continued translating the verses of Srimad Bhagavatam and speaking his purports into the dictating machine. Prabhupada agreed to hold a press conference. He welcomed regular opportunities to address the press because even though their stories were often negative or dwelt on controversies, whatever truth the paper printed generally outweighed the damaging reports. The holy name of Krishna always appeared, and usually there would be mention of Prabhupada's preaching or of Bhagavad Gita. Personal details about Prabhupada were generally not offensive. He no longer expected the press to print much of the Krishna conscious philosophy. Although occasionally some philosophy appeared, he would often request reporters to please report accurately and not misrepresent or skip over what he had said. The reporters, however, seemed to have a fascination for the trivial. In 1968, a reporter in Montreal had dwelt on Prabhupada's casual shoes, hush puppied high priest. Nevertheless, for Prabhupada, press interviews and press conferences were a way of preaching. The press conference was held in the temple and was attended by about a dozen reporters and photographers. Brahmananda Swami had the reporters write their question on a piece of paper so that one of the devotees could read them to Prabhupada. Prabhupada asked the photographers not to take pictures during the conference since it would divert people's attention. Devotee. Srila Prabhupada, would you comment on opposition to Hare Krishna movement in this country? Prabhupada. Why should they oppose? What is the reason? If they are Christian or Jewish religious man, so we are advocating you chant the holy name of the God. So why should there be objection? Is there any reason for such objection? What is the objection? Devotee. Some of the objections are that the followers of Hare Krishna sect are on the streets or in the airports bothering people. Prabhupada. The airport itself is a botheration. So much sound, so much accident. So why this little botheration they cannot tolerate? That means intolerance. It is full of botheration, and because we are chanting, they are very much disturbed. We don't chant in the airport, but we ask people that here, here is a very good book, you will benefit. If you like, you can take. So, what is wrong there? Tell me what is wrong. If I give you something very nice, is that wrong? You read any book, we have got 50 books, and you find out any fault in that. If we are distributing some bad literature which is against the social welfare, then you can object. But you see, bring all our books here and you will see. Any page you open, you will find something good. Why are you denying to distribute such literature for the benefit of the people in general? What is wrong there? Devotee. One of the things that people say is that devotees are asking for donations, not just distributing books, but asking for money. That is bother. Prabhupada. But he pays. If he feels botheration, why does he pay? One who feels botheration does not pay. But one who thinks that there is a nice book, then he pay. Then he says, all right, let me take it. Why you take this botheration? If it is botheration, how they are purchasing? They are paying their money, hard-earned money. Do you think they are bothered and at the same time they pay? Prabhupada's sensible remark made the reporter laugh. Now they begin questioning him directly. Reporter, what will happen to the movement in United States when you die? Prabhupada, I will never die. Devotees, Jai Haribo. Prabhupada, I shall live from my books and you will utilize. So we'll stop here in the interest of time. The reporter conversation will continue. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Holiness Satsvarup Das Goswami Maharaj ki jai. So dear devotees, anybody has any question, correction, chastisement, or any realization? So, dear devotees, in Srimad Bhagavatam, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have been reading about him. At 24 years of age, he took sannyas. So that is another, when we say Bhagavan, this is one of the six quality of Bhagavan, that renunciation. Imagine at the age of 24, we are so much attached to the householder life, isn't it? But at that age, just for the sake of the people, he renounced and took sannyas, right? That shows his compassion, and that shows that he is not attached, right? He, at one point, he is Dwarkadish, and another time he can take sannyas. That shows the quality of Bhagavan. Only Bhagavan has that quality. So that was so nice to see that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sacrificed for all of us so that we take this seriously. So nice. And in Prabhupada Lilamrita, that point is when we turn our back to the sun, then there is a darkness. And also, as long as we think that this is our property, right, will not have peace. And that is precisely, the same person who washes the utensil at temple feels the bliss after service. But same utensil, if that person's wife asked the man to wash in the kitchen, the man feel botheration. That's why many Matajis say that, see, my husband wash all the utensils at temple and he feels so blissful. But when I ask him to wash at home, right, he feels botheration. Same activity is same because the reason is different, right? The reason is temple, we accept that we all together came to serve Krishna. Krishna is the proprietor. At home, we have little different mindset. Oh, this is my home. So, that mentality come. But if we keep think that, hey, this is Krishna's home, I am here to serve Krishna, servant, then actually you will enjoy all the householder activity. Then even your wife asks you to cook or wash utensils, anything, you will enjoy because you think that this is a temple, this is Krishna's property, and I'm serving Krishna. By keeping my home neat and clean, I'm actually serving Krishna. I'm cooking for Krishna. I'm washing utensils for Krishna. So it's all about the mindset. That's why Prabhupada told to that gentleman how to achieve peace is when we think that everything belongs to Krishna. We are just cashier for Krishna for that. With that mindset, when we do, and anything happened good, we should give credit to Krishna. And some unpleasant thing happen, of course, we are responsible for that. So that attitude, not the reverse. So, so this is so nice, the way Prabhupada replied, and the activities were so inspiring. All right, so we'll stop here. Anything else from anybody before we continue chanting? वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यश्च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय. So thank you, dear devotees, for listening to me, and please forgive me if I have not